Welcome to the Blogger Genius Podcast, brought to you by MiloTree. Here's your host, Jillian Leslie.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, I have my good friend Paula Rollo back on the show. She is also community manager of MiloTree, and we are discussing about pages. What are they? Why are they important? Who are they for? How you should think about them. So without further ado, here is everything you wanted to know about your About page. Paula, welcome back. I love when we get to talk and talk about topics.
Me too. This is always so fun.
All right, so today we want to talk about pages and how you want to position yourself on your blog, on your site, both, and this is what we talked about before, for two very important reasons. One, to attract readers, so readers understand what the value is of your site or your blog. And two, so brands can find out about you, understand what you do, understand who your audience is, and then reach out to work with you.
It's like the first page we make on the site, and it's excruciating to make, and then so often we don't look at it ever again.
Exactly.
So I think it's a good practice as your business grows to look back at that About page and see what's missing and what you can edit and tweak to make it a really strong page on your site.
And I would say it's a page you want to revisit. One thing that we have noticed, like when we were building Catch My Party, like our first version of our site was so different from what it ultimately evolved into. And the way we got there was tweaking. We tweaked and tweaked and tweaked and tweaked. And I recommend thinking about your About page in that same way, so that it isn't something that you wrote and you finished, or it isn't something that you're just going to go and rewrite every month. You're going to kind of find what works and then continue to iterate. So if we were to talk about, what would you say the most important things that should be on your About page? Paula, what would you say they would be?
So there's a few things that I think are like laughably basic, but it amazes me how often I go to sites and these things aren't there.
Ooh, okay.
One of those things is your name.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
It's insane. Like, we just make About Me,
right.
And then it's like, oh, I this, I that,
right.
the
Hi.
site this, the site that. And like, truly, I cannot find this person's name to send them an email with their name spelled correctly, even if I know that their name's Sherry or Susie or whatever. Like, we all spell our names in weird ways. We get mad when people misspell them, but their name's not there.
Yes.
So
now, do you think people should put their last names, like, hi, I'm Jillian, or hi, I'm Jillian Leslie, or what? What is your recommendation?
I think it depends on if you're doing this professionally, then yes, I think you need your last name on there.
And I would agree.
Because from a brand perspective, you don't want a semi-anonymous person. You're not going to trust that.
Yep.
And readers to some extent aren't going to trust that.
Yep.
Fake persona.
And I would say, because people,
if you're doing this more casually, it doesn't matter.
Right. I would say, because you want people to be able to copy your name and Google it and see, who are you? You know, what does your Instagram look like? What is, just making it easy for people to learn more about you.
Yeah.
So I definitely.
And it kind of displays a little bit of trust that you have in your reader as well. Like, I trust you enough to give you my name. We're connected now.
Yes. Yes. Okay, so the first thing is name. We both, if you're in this professionally, your last name as well. Okay.
Yes.
What
absolutely.
What else would you?
And then
recommend?
the second thing is your contact information.
Ooh. Okay.
That's another thing that people hide on their sites, and it could be if you have a whole contact page that says. I know a lot of professional bloggers have those pages that are like, for my readers, email this. If you're having trouble with my products, email this. So you don't want to put 6 email addresses on your About page, but you do want in bold, close to the top, if you're trying to reach me for any reason, maybe just click here and it can take you to the contact page. But that's another thing that so often a brand or a reader may go to your About page to try to figure out, how can I contact you? and it's nowhere to be found. And I'm scrolling and now I'm frustrated and I'm clicking away. So you want to make it super, super easy for people to get in touch with you on that about page.
And energetically, I think there is something really welcoming about saying, hey, I want to hear from you. Like, feel free to reach out to me. Like, this isn't just the Jill show. This is like, hey, let's build a relationship.
Mm-hmm. And starting with that does kind of set the tone. It's different than just being like, I was born in such and such a state. Like, that's setting the tone very narcissistically, where if you're setting the tone, hi, I'm Paula Rollo. I love hearing from you. I'm really excited to be here, blah, 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 whatever energetic thing. Contact me here.
Yep.
If you want to know more about me, and then you launch into your little story.
Yep. Okay, now let's talk.
But it's putting the focus on the reader instead of on you.
Totally. Now let's talk about the story, because I read a lot of these kind of about me sections, and it'll say like, hey, I live in Virginia and I've got 3 kids and I'm a crafter. In fact, I'm a I do crafts with cardboard or something like that. Now, what is your thought about that?
I think you have to strike a good balance between telling things that are relevant to your specific target audience that they would find out about if they read your blog.
Yep.
Because you have 2 different kinds of people coming to your about page from a reader perspective. You have the person who is already a raving fan.
Yep.
And they've read a bunch of things on your website and they want to know more about you. They want to know the little quirks that have nothing. Maybe you're a food blogger, but they didn't know that you also craft with cardboard because you never write about that. And now they feel like they know you more intimately.
Yep.
But you are also going to have a brand new person who's come and they've seen one post on your site and then they go, I wonder, before I decide if I'm going to click that MiloTree app and follow them, I want to know a little more about them.
Right.
And so they'll scroll up and they go to the About page and see, is this one page that I liked a fluke, or is she all about whatever I'm here on the site for?
Right.
And so you need to balance out giving the information of your best content, what you write about, why, the heart behind what you're doing. And by the way, I have this cool Harry Potter tattoo. Or by the way, I just moved to Austin. And that doesn't really have anything to do with parties.
Right.
But if you're in Austin, you're like, wow, I feel connected to her.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Absolutely.
There's a fun fact. I used to work for Disney. There's a fun fact. Different things like that can make you more personable.
Totally.
So it's finding that balance between both.
Yes. Now, I would say that the focus, I just told you this story offline, but the focus of your About page, though, because, we want to write about ourselves and share about that, but the focus needs to be on your audience or on the brand that's reading this, which is, what value can I give to you? And that's something like right now, you could pause this podcast episode, go read your About section and see if you are putting the value of what you're doing right there in front of the reader. So the reader could say, do I care about cardboard crafts? Oh, this is what I'm going to get. Not, oh, who is this person? Especially a lot of our readers are moms. Moms are busy. Moms just want to know that you're going to somehow make their life easier. So go put those glasses on right now, read your About section, and see if you are answering that question, which is, what value am I going to provide for my reader? Or what problem am I going to solve for my reader? And go through it and edit it for that purpose. And then I would say, focus on the fun facts, the Harry Potter tattoo, the fact that you've got 3 kids, the fact that you've lived in, 30 of the 50 states, whatever those interesting details are that are relatable, that make you seem human and not too perfect.
Yes. And stand out from the other bloggers that also write about food or crafts or parenting, but you can stand out because you have some special, unique thing. But that shouldn't be the main front and center focus of your About page, is what you're saying.
Exactly. And let's think about it from a brand perspective, because I know that there are brand managers or people at the brand or at the PR firm who are looking to find bloggers in a specific niche. And so now here's a question. which is, do you recommend that you have a place, let's say even in your about section, that says, if you want to work with me, click here, and it will give you then, if you click over to a page, it will have more of your stats and those kinds of things, so a brand can easily know that. Do you recommend adding that into your about section?
I like clicking out, and I like keeping those things separate.
Okay.
So I think anybody should be able, whoever they are on your site, should be able to come to your about page and find what they need. But a lot of the time that should be in directing out. So if they need to contact you, you direct them out to a contact page. If they're a brand and they want to work with you, you direct them out to that page.
Got it. And then
there you're going to give them better statistics.
Okay.
Here are my numbers. Here's how I work with brands. I don't do giveaways, or I do giveaways.
Right.
That type of thing. That
right.
Your reader really doesn't need to know that information.
Right. But if they wanted to, because they're curious, it's right there. They can click as well and see. But you're not advertising that stuff in your about section.
Exactly. Because people will feel like it's a little bit, again, narcissistic. Like, I don't care that you have 100,000 followers on Pinterest. Why are you trying to tell me that?
Right.
You're bragging.
Right.
Where obviously a brand would care about that. A brand is interested to know that information, but your reader doesn't even know your name.
Right.
So why are you telling them your stats and your social media numbers that they can go hunt down, and they'll think that's interesting, but it comes off maybe a little bit wrong if you position that on your about page when they don't really know you yet.
Got it. What if I've worked with some really awesome brands, Target and Michaels and places like that? Would you put that in my about section, or would you keep that on the kind of PR work with me page?
I would keep that on the PR page because, again, to the average reader, it comes off as braggy, which frustrates me. I've been told this by my real life friends, that they don't like when bloggers disclose their relationship with brands, like I'm in partnership, like the legal disclosure that we have to use
at the top of a blog post.
I had a friend tell me one time. Yes, and I had a friend tell me one time that it comes off so braggy, and why do I do that?
That's so funny. You're like, otherwise I could go to jail.
Because I'm legally obligated to do that.
Yes, that's funny.
But it was interesting to me just kind of how it's viewed. They're like, we know that you're getting paid. Why are you throwing it in our face?
Oh, interesting.
And I was like, oh, well, that's interesting because some of them, oftentimes I'll try to make my disclosures sound good, and hopefully those don't come off as braggy. But sometimes the brand says you have to phrase it this way.
Right.
But it was interesting feedback that the average reader doesn't want to know that. They don't care that you're making money on your blog. Right. They're fine with you doing it, but they don't want to hear about it.
Right. Now,
And so having that in another place funneled out is kind of the best way to serve both parties.
Now, I would recommend then in your work with me page for brands, let's say I've worked with Target, and I've worked with Michaels, and I've worked with, Macy's or whomever, that I will take logos of those brands and put them on that page.
Yes.
And I will say, previously worked with or partnered with these brands. And I will not just write Macy's, but I will actually use the Macy's logo or the Target logo or the, Whole Foods, whatever logo, and I will put them on that page just to give me credibility. So when a brand manager goes and sees it, they immediately recognize those brands, and hopefully they want to be in the company of those brands. Like, she's worked with.
It gives you credibility.
It gives you credibility. That. So I wouldn't be, so on that page, I would also talk about who your audience is, what your numbers are, but it's really about what problem can you solve for this brand? The brand wants to get in front of mothers. Let's say mothers with small children. I would definitely then write that on your work with me page, because you want to tick the boxes you want to make it so easy for that brand or that PR person to go, she's somebody we need to work with. Let's reach out to her.
Right.
So again, it's that thing of, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's the same thing that you were saying for the About page, that you're solving the problem for your reader on the About page, and on the brand page, you're showing how you're solving the problem for the brand.
Exactly.
So both times you're solving problems and only putting yourself in when you really need to be.
And kind of in a way that might be like a fun fact or interesting or something like that, where you're not just like every other blogger, but there's what is your special sauce? And
Yes.
figuring it out, trying to highlight that, but again, focusing less on you and much more on who you're talking to and how you're going to make their life better. Hey, are you a blogger or entrepreneur who loves their business but is a little overwhelmed with all that you have to do in a day? Well, you are not alone. We all feel this way. So I want to share a pop-up tool that will increase your social media followers, grow your email list, build your traffic, and it is called MiloTree. MiloTree is a pop-up app that my husband David built for our first site, Catch My Party. In the 4 years that we've been using the MiloTree pop-up on Catch My Party, our Pinterest account has grown exponentially to over 1.1 million followers. And our Instagram has grown to over 160,000 followers. And these social networks now drive millions of page views to our site every single month. MiloTree works to grow followers on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. It'll grow your sales on Shopify or Etsy, and it will even grow your email list. You can focus on growing one platform at a time or switch between several. The choice is yours. MiloTree. It's easy to install. You can do it in under 3 minutes. It's completely optimized. Right now, you can get your first 30 days for free. Just go to MiloTree.com to sign up for your free trial. If you are not converting your site visitors into followers, subscribers, and customers, you need to change your strategy. To take the first step, head over to MiloTree.com and start your free trial. There's no risk, and you'll be joining thousands of other professional bloggers who are already using MiloTree to grow their businesses. As a bonus, once you sign up, I'll send you valuable business tips each week to help you continue to accelerate your growth. You can't be everywhere all the time, so let MiloTree work for you. It's fast, it's easy, and it gets results. So what are you waiting for? Head to MiloTree.com and start your free trial. Okay, so how long should your, let's say, your About page section be?
I think it's like anything else on your site. It needs to be skimmable. And put those headings in there that are, this is the part where I'm talking about me. This is the part where I'm talking about the best of the blog. This is the part, whatever you've decided to put in there, make it easy for them to skim. If you're going to put, I've seen some people do the fun facts like you're mentioning, but do them in bullet points. So
exactly.
People don't have to read paragraphs of information, but they can read a paragraph and then some bullet points and then a heading, and they can scroll through and get a good idea of who you are without having to read all of the words you meticulously wrote.
Absolutely.
So the sky's the limit, I think.
Okay. But just make it fun and not boring. And I will say, I will read the fun facts. Like I will go to, it'll say like fun facts about me or fun, whatever, or like short little sentences about that person. I will always read them.
Yes.
Like that for me gives me a lot of punch.
Yes. I think that's true for a lot of people because people want to see if you're like them. They'll be like, oh my gosh, me too. Oh my gosh, me too. So that it's, even though you're talking about yourself in those fun facts, you're talking about your readers because they're like, I visited that country. My kid does that. My first word was also that word.
Totally.
Whatever the stupid, silly things are, we want that connection so badly.
Yep.
And that's why we're drawn to those things about other people, really because we're looking for ourselves.
Totally.
So
and how about this?
Providing those for your readers is really good.
What about this idea? Adding vulnerability. I like it when somebody says, I lost 70 pounds. Or I struggle with depression, or who knows what that fun fact is. I'm a breast cancer survivor. That if you feel comfortable sharing that, if that's something that you talk about naturally in your life, to put that in there, because again, people go, oh, she's not perfect. She's not, flawless, but like she's willing to put herself out there in a way that makes me connect with her with my heart. Mm-hmm. And what is your thought about that?
I think for those things, I think it's good to put them, but I think that to make that connection stronger, it should be linked to something. So it should be linked to a blog post about your breast cancer surviving, or even just an Instagram. If you've never wrote a post about that, link to an Instagram post about that where they can do more.
Yes.
And it's not just randomly displaying like a diploma on your wall of like, I've been through some stuff.
Right.
But it's click here to go deeper. I'm not going to, on my about page, focus on this deep struggle with depression, but I did write a blog post about it one time that you can click through and you can go read it.
Yes.
And the rest of you can carry on with your fun time.
I like that. I do. Because I will be the one who clicks through to be like, wow, what was this like for this person? So I had recently been on a blog where somebody was like, I lost 70 pounds, and they did have a link to my weight loss journey, but their blog was not about weight loss. But the idea that they had written about it in such a brave way made me like this person even more.
Right. Yes. So I think if you do have those posts, that it's important to link to them, because nobody's going to find them otherwise if your blog is not about that.
Right.
And so that's a good way to highlight those things for the people who are interested.
Right.
It's not going to go viral. It's not going to get you a lot of traffic, but it is going to turn a casual reader into an absolute fan of you, which is what a good about page should do.
Right. Now, what about people in their about page who link to their most popular posts? What is your thought about that?
I think that's really good to do, because that's, again, targeting the person who this is their first time on your blog and they're deciding whether or not they want to follow. They're interested. You got them to where they're excited to learn more, but they're not sure.
Right.
And so highlighting your most popular content, and that can be your favorite things, that can be your readers' favorite things, or it can just be a good sampler platter, basically, of what your site offers.
Yep.
Highlighting those things is an important way for someone to look and say, okay, yeah, this is what I'm interested in following. I would like to follow along with them. And so it can also be good to have like, here are, top 5 posts, and then just under that be like, never miss a post, subscribe, or never miss a post, follow me on blank.
Right.
So that if you've convinced that person, there's an immediate action they can take to stick with you for longer.
Yep. Now, what about on your brand page, your Work With Me page? Would you put links to other sponsored content you've done?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Definitely. Your best sponsored work should be displayed out there, and maybe put a year that you did it in, so that if they're a semi-competitor,
right,
they can look and be like, oh, this is a really good, I'm trying to hire her for granola bars, but I see this other post she did for another granola bar company. It was 3 years ago,
right? But
I can see that she did really solid work.
Right.
So I would absolutely highlight a few of your best sponsored posts. And again, from a few different perspectives. If you're kind of a lifestyle person, you should have one of them be recipe, have one of them be travel, have one of them be each of the categories that you'd be hitting.
Right.
So that a brand that fits any of those categories can see that themselves on your site.
Yes.
And a good representation of what that would look like.
Okay. And this is, again, when we go to the things that seem so obvious, like putting your name, make sure all of your links work. Go over your About page, your Work With Me page, and make sure that everything works, that your Contact Me link leads to your contact page. Your, post, like, there are so many times where I've clicked through and been like, wait, what? This is on your About page and it's not working? Like, it makes me go, this is not somebody who I really, who doesn't have the time to check to make sure that I can see what she's doing. So that's like easy, but just definitely double check those.
Yes, because it really does make you feel like the person doesn't care about you.
Yeah.
Which is silly.
Yeah.
As content creators, we that has nothing to do with how much we care about our people, but our readers are going to go to that. They're going to click on the about page or the contact page, and it's not going to work. And they're going to go, she doesn't care.
Right.
She's too important for me.
Right. And
that's frustrating.
And also just like, I want this, I want it now. And somehow like, you just will people make decisions in fractions of a second. And so you just want to make sure that you have dotted every I, crossed every T. That you're, that you're going to serve up the right stuff to these people. So those are kind of, and make sure there aren't any typos. I struggle with that. I make a ton of typos and I catch them and then I cringe. But read it over for that. And again, like we've talked about with skimmability, make it skimmable, but then go on mobile and read your about page.
Yes.
Like just because you might work on a laptop or a desktop, make sure, see what that experience is like for a mom with 2 kids in line at Target. Like make that, like think about your audience. Or there is that brand manager who's sitting in a cubicle in a high rise in New York City trying to find influencers quickly so that that person's boss will be happy. So just make that experience super easy.
Yes.
So again,
it's so important.
Serve it up
checking site speed.
Yes, and checking site speed. In fact,
on that page specifically.
Yes. Yes, making sure those pages are optimized. Okay, here we go. Picture, photo, image, what should be there?
Yes, and that's why I mentioned site speed, because oftentimes on the about page, we're very image heavy, which is wonderful. Mm-hmm. But if those images are not scaled down, if they're too big, if they're this, if they're that, you want to make sure that those images are not making it where people can't even interact with your content because your images are so big and not formatted properly. So check the speed, make sure that everything is serving up well. I think having both a professional like headshot type photo and having lifestyle shots are important on an about page because you want to know that you can do both. The brand needs to know that you're not immature, right? But your reader needs to know that you're relatable.
Yes. Yes.
So if you're a cook, having that photo of you and your kid in the kitchen is important, but also having the headshot is important for the brand.
Yes.
And so showing, just like you're showing with links and with your phrasing, you're serving both audiences. You need to do that visually as well with the different types of photos that you share on that about page.
Yes, I completely agree. And I would say this, which is, again, pause this now, go back, go to your about page right now. Any sentence that is a long sentence that you can shorten into 2 sentences, do it. Anytime you can make a new paragraph right now, do it. Again, we were talking about skimmability, but the last thing I want, and like now as like the internet has completely changed the way that I read. I don't want beautiful long sentences. I want short, quick, poppy sentences. So, it's...
And lots of white space.
And lots of white space. So be thinking about that. Again, this is the idea. You're going to go back. You're going to iterate and iterate and iterate. So go do like a different, like take a pass at your about section and go, okay, I'm just going to cut down my sentences. I'm just going to add more white space. I'm going to just make sure my links work, whatever. And then you come and revisit it in a couple weeks and you go, oh, I'm going to add that cute image of my daughter and me, whatever, because that kind of shows a different side or whatever it is. So just keep thinking about how to continue to optimize it little by little by little. But don't underestimate the importance of this because we want connection. As you say, we want to see ourselves in these, in these other people to say, I relate to her. I'd be friends with her. Or she's got something to teach me. Now, what about, let's say, for example, you're a DIY kids activity blogger, and you are also a teacher, or you also have something that gives you credibility in that space. What is your thought about how to share that without seeming braggy, but how to say, no, I am credible here?
That needs to go right after your name. At the very top, before brands click away, before anything happens, I'm so-and-so, my full name, I'm a whatever your credentials are, and I'm blank however you serve the person.
Interesting.
Because you have to put that credibility out there, I think.
I agree with that.
It's not bragging, it's just stating a fact. It's letting you know this is who I am.
Yep.
And if you are just a fellow mom, then that's fine.
Yep.
There's also some credibility in that as well.
Yep.
So don't feel bad if you don't have credentials to add to your title. That's totally fine. And a lot of people are looking for that.
Right.
But if you do have credentials that are relevant to what you write about.
Right.
Like your business degree doesn't really matter on Catch My Party as much as it does on MiloTree.
Right.
And I'm sure that your about pages reflect that. You don't need to be like, hey, I'm Jillian, and I need you to know that I have a business degree for you to look at my Moana parties. Like, no.
Right.
That makes no sense.
Absolutely.
But if I'm coming to you for a business app, it does matter to me that you have a business degree and that you've been blogging for X number of years. But I don't really care about that on your party page. So make sure it's a relevant fact. But if you have relevant credentials, absolutely put them front and center first sentence on your about page.
Right. I have a master's degree, let's say, in arts education from X, Y, like if it's something people will know from this school, because immediately people will go, oh, okay, I will follow her. I've been a kindergarten teacher for 16 years. Or, or I worked in marketing for this company for 7 years before I had children.
Mm-hmm. And then I think you can soften the blow right after it so it doesn't come off braggy by saying, but my passion is to help moms just like me learn how to make fun crafts with their own kids.
Yep. Right.
And so that's how you can give your credential, but then show I'm not going to lord it over you because I'm just like you too.
Exactly.
And that's what people are looking for. Somebody who's farther along, but who's not putting them down or making them feel bad about themselves.
Exactly.
And you can kind of strike that balance in the way that you communicate.
Exactly. Like I wanted to stay home with my kids, but I was struggling to find interesting science projects for them. So I decided to create this blog to, come up with, to share the science projects that I created for my kids. You go, oh, I want to do science projects with my kids. This seems like somebody I want to invest in. So I feel like, again, so your name, contact, hi, credentials, hi, and then what I'm going to provide for you, hi. And then you can get into the stuff about I live in Virginia and I have 3 kids and, I'm a chocoholic, that kind of thing.
Yes.
And any
other. And
here,
sprinkle it in with different call to actions as well, I think.
What do you mean by that?
I live in Virginia. Here's some sweet stories about me. You can see more of my personal life on Instagram. Follow me. And then blah, 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 blah. I talk a lot about cooking and recipes and easy meals for moms. Follow me on Pinterest to see my best recipes. Link to Pinterest. And so you can kind of funnel out your people as you tell your story and serve your audience as you tell your story with, oh, well, I don't really care about her personal life, but I'd love to follow that recipe board for sure. I'll take that action as I read more.
Right.
Instead of having 15 call to actions at the end, or subscribe to this specific segmented list to get a new recipe every week.
Right.
So really strategize what types of people you want following you on what platforms and sprinkle those call to actions throughout that page instead of just putting a lump at the end, which is here's my Facebook, here's my Twitter, here's my Instagram, which is what we all used to do.
Right.
But there's a better way.
Absolutely. And being very intentional. So again, as you go through your about section, think about that as one of the passes you go through and say, okay, where do I want people to go? Where do I want to funnel them? Maybe there's only one thing. I want them to join my list. And that is if I can get them on my list, I've got them. Okay. So that needs to be where you focus. Or it could be, here's a way to interact with this kind of content on Pinterest or this on Instagram or whatever. And, but do not, I would say, throw in all these different choices, because remember, it can paralyze your reader. Like, oh, there's so much to do. I don't know what to do. Instead, go do this. Go do this. And the one thing is, tell them what you want them to do. So I love what you were saying, which is, if you want to see my recipes, follow me on Pinterest. So it's like, oh, I do want to see her recipes. I will follow her on Pinterest, and I don't have to think about it. So I feel like we've now given everybody a lot to do. In fact, you've inspired me to go back and look at my own about sections.
Right.
And to go, we came up with some
Tidy
good ideas.
them up real quick.
Yeah, like I'm going to go do a pass and see what I can do just to make it more intentional.
Yeah. It's a good thing to do, I think, seasonally too, because your content might change, or the way you want to frame that PR page for brands might be tweaked at certain types of year. So I think it's good to do regularly.
I do too. Well, Paula, thank you so much again for coming back on the show, and we'll do this again in a couple more weeks.
Thanks for having me.
I hope this episode gave you some new ideas about your About page. If there are other topics you would like us to take a deep dive into, please email me at jillian@milotree.com. I love hearing from you, and I hope you will join me here again next week.